Our dollar bill, which we covered in the book that we were reading, is a Freemasonic symbol. And yes,
What
it was
did they-
the Weissops, the bankers, the Rothschilds,
Right.
the Weissops that were behind the Illuminati. That stuff is real. It is not imagined. It is the basis of our foundation.
Correct.
Are you not fascinated how left and right doesn't exist? I loved your interview with Hunter Biden. Loved it. Anna Kasparian, a year ago, I would have thought, not my cup of tea. But now we're just, wait a minute, what? Something has happened.
Yeah.
There's no, explain this.
I just think it's when you're confronted with real evil, you kind of stop with like your petty grievances with people, and you realize what's happening in this world. And we're suddenly being confronted with real evil. Like we're talking about people that are trying to allow the assassination of a good man in broad daylight, right? We're talking about people that are covering up from minors being trafficked globally around the world by elites into Egyptian temples designed after an Egyptian temple on a Caribbean island. And they're trying to gaslight us about that. And these people are in control of our countries. And so at that moment, if you can't go, hey, we can scrap about this other topic later, but like we need to confront this satanic evil that's taking over our society.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
Then you're of no use to us. We can't. If you care about your society, your children, your future, you have to confront this dragon.
Correct. Thank you.
And so it has brought strange bedfellows, so to speak. But I really enjoyed Anna Kasparian. She was amazing, and she was feisty, and she totally gets it. And I think that, again, looking at Gaza, it's like, how is anybody looking at that and trying to justify what they've done? You have to be worshiping Satan to still be on the side of pretending that is even remotely okay.
You're goddamn right.
And you also have to be somewhat obtuse to think that if you aid and abet a society that does that chicken's not going to come home to roost one day.
Pope Leo just dispensed put out or issued 2,000 new exorcists. And they don't do this just for fun.
No.
But he basically said there was something to this. And did you ever see The Exorcist, the movie?
Yes, the one with Linda Blair is the only one I've seen.
Yes.
Terrifying.
That was made right in our neighborhood. That changed everything, just like The Godfather changed organized crime. Do you believe there is the personification, the epicenter, the manifestation of evil in this concept, this entity called Satan?
Yeah, I mean, this has been the most apparent thing to me. And what makes me really happy is that people are finally speaking about this stuff openly. I think part of the reason that Hollywood exists is to make people think that the idea of witchcraft and the occult is imaginary, right? Oh, it's a movie, it's hocus pocus. Oh, it's just a movie. But this stuff is real. This is how people live their lives every day. And as we have gone deeper into the Charlie Kirk story, there are so many obvious occult elements to this, and being able to speak about how much the symbolism matters to them, getting into the history of Israel's symbolism, like the Star of David is not a Star of David. It is Baal worship. That is what it is. It is the Solomon's seal. I mean, this is what they think, that his ring had magic powers. And so to get people to that point where they now are acknowledging, wow, there is real evil. I think that is one of the I don't want to say the upside, but like one of the better things that have come out of a Charlie Kirk assassination is that his death did lead to this awakening of a truer, deeper evil that is manifesting in our societies while we have been distracted.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
Now, you realize that you are, of course, if you say anything about Israel or anything, or any comment whatsoever about Judaism or anything Judaic, you are an anti-Semite. But there was no word for anti-Catholic. Why could you get away with that, but not this? Who decided, okay, you can trash the Catholics or anybody else for that matter, but not even Jews per se, but just Israel? Who came up with that?
The satanic Freemasons that established America.
What did you say?
I mean, we just did a deep read on the Freemasonry. I mean, people who think this like, oh, America was established by, the founding fathers were this, they were Freemasons. They were actually Freemasons. And there was a battle that was waging upon the continent of Europe. The Freemasons were trying to crush the Christian Catholic empires. They had success. They started a bunch of revolutions. And yes, it is just a fact of a matter that when you peer behind what was happening in all of those revolutions, the push to break down the Christian empire was being led by Sabbatian Frankist Jews.
Either convert to Islam or die. This was the choice the Turkish Sultan put to Sabbatai Zevi, self-proclaimed Jewish Messiah, in 1666.
Really?
By only pretending to convert, Zevi resorted to a common Jewish practice. But Zevi was not an ordinary Jew. He led a popular heresy based on Kabbalism. The rabbis had denounced him and his followers. After his conversion, over 1 million followers, who later included financiers like the Rothschilds,
Note the lack of surprise.
imitated his example. But they didn't just pretend to be Muslims or Christians. They pretended to be Jews as well.
And so they tried to wipe this out of history. It's such an important thing for people to read about and learn about. I was brought to it by studying Sigmund Freud. There was a schism in the Jewish community, a false messiah who a third of European Jewry followed, who practiced pedophilia. They basically modeled the Catholic Church. They had their unholy sacraments. They had an unholy Ava Frank who slept with her father, Jacob Frank. The Frankists were behind the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and behind the methodical satanic effort to break down the Christian empire. And so America was established. They looked at America as a new Atlantis, right? They were fighting all these battles, and they said, we can sort of create this young country that doesn't know anything. It will be in its adolescence, and we will shape it with this mindset that it is Christian, when in fact it was initially meant to be an infiltration of the Christian faith. It is our dollar bill, which we covered in the book that we were reading, is a Freemasonic symbol. And yes, it was the Weissops, the bankers, the Rothschilds, right, the Weissops that were behind the Illuminati. That stuff is real. It is not imagined. It is the basis of our foundation. So Catholicism was never meant to be intended for America, America's founding. They always wanted, and that is why you can buy every flavor of Protestantism. Nobody cared when I was a Protestant. Right. Suddenly I became a Catholic, and it was out, because this country was established to never be Catholic, to never be Orthodox. And look what they're getting right now. They're getting this more Catholic baptisms and conversions than I think ever before in America, which is amazing to see.
Communist defector Bella Dodd revealed that during the 1930s, the Communist Party had 1,100 members join the Catholic priesthood.
What the hell did you just say?
They became bishops, cardinals, and popes. By adopting this chameleon strategy, this satanic cult infiltrated and subverted most governments and religions and established an invisible tyranny without drawing much attention. In the words of the gifted researcher Clifford Shack, through infiltration, stealth, and cunning, this invisible network has come to rule us all. 41 years after Shabbatai Zevi's death in 1717, they would infiltrate masonry guilds in England and establish Freemasonry. Zevi's successor, Jacob Frank, would have a great impact on the inner core of Freemasonry, known as the Illuminati, formed in 1776.
Flashback. Ava Frank, who slept with her father, Jacob Frank. The Frankists were behind the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and behind the methodical satanic effort to break down the Christian empire.
How could you not see this coming?
Freemasonry would become the hidden force behind events like the American, French, and Russian revolutions, the creation of the UN and Israel, both world wars, including the Holocaust, and the assassinations of the Kennedy brothers who, together with their father, tried to thwart the efforts of the network on American soil. Sabbatian Frankists, also referred to as the cult of the all-seeing eye, look on the back of your $1 bill to begin to understand their influence in your life.
No. Wait. Please! No!
Yes!
Sabbatian Frankists are political and religious chameleons. They are everywhere. There is power. They are the good guys and the bad guys, The World War II era is a prime example. The following leaders were members of the cult of the all-seeing eye. That is, Sabbatean Frankists. Franklin D. Roosevelt.
What?
Winston Churchill.
Your thoughts?
What?
Adolf Hitler.
What?
Eugenio Pacelli, Pope Pius XII.
What the hell did you just say?
Francisco Franco.
No way.
Benito Mussolini.
No way.
Hirohito.
No way!
And Mao Zedong.
No way!
Yes way.
If Mr. Shack is correct, historians, educators, and journalists are upholding a false reality, and our culture is an elaborate psyop.
It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is?
No, Fugazi. It's fake.
Yeah, fugazi, fugazi. It's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
Our perception of the human experience is shaped by an occult secret society.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Obviously, the Sabbateans and their descendants should consume our attention. Instead, they are hidden from view. They were decisive in the so-called Enlightenment, secularism, and modernism. These are but baby steps to their Satanism.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yes.
According to Rabbi Marvin Antelman, they believe sin is holy and should be practiced for its own sake. Since the Messiah will come when people either become righteous or totally corrupt, the Sabbateans opted for debauchery. Since we cannot all be saints, let us all be sinners.
Oh my God, that is so gross.
Their blasphemous benediction, who permits the forbidden, later became the Satanist, do as thou wilt. The expression of their religious feeling. Totally amoral, they believe the end justifies the means.
You know, Tolstoy said history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. And isn't it amazing the older you get, how you learn things now and you say, why wasn't I told? And why am I the only one apparently who knows this? And then you mentioned conspiracy theories. Gore Vidal says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. How can you not see this? If I give you a dollar bill with 15 symbols, what is this, happenstance? Yeah. What is this, random? You're crazy for pointing that out. It works after a while. People think, maybe I am crazy. Did you ever did you ever go through a conversion fairly recently? What was your red pill moment? What was that? When did the light go on?
Well, I would say so much that brought me to wanting to examine true history was Sigmund Freud. Like I kind of just tweeted something about like, he's kind of weird and perverse, and they came in and attacked me. And I was like, okay, let me get more educated. And when I learned about Sigmund Freud and how he created a modern psychology to gaslight kids who were actually being raped in Vienna by their parents.
Why does that not surprise me?
And that he was a part of this satanic cult. Like he was a part of the occult. It was a Jewish mysticism, so to speak. Not so to speak, it was Jewish mysticism. And I began just reading books, and I wanted to make sure to save myself from this obvious, you're going to be called an anti-Semite, to only read books that were written by Jews, committed, faithful Jews.
I am the one, the way your son don't need a gun to get me.
And when you read The Assault on Truth, it's such an important read. I can't express this enough. The Assault on Truth, written by Jeffrey Masson, who was an Ashkenazi Jew, attended Harvard, and actually worked under Anna Freud, was a proud psychoanalyst who was going to take over the archives. And she selected him to take over her father's archives. And so he thought, I'm going to learn German and read all of Sigmund Freud's letters so that have never been released to the public. He learned German, learned how to speak and read German, and was shocked to discover that Sigmund Freud was a complete fraud, knew the kids were actually being raped in circumstances where the kids were killed. He had gone down to the mortuary, examined their body. He knew it was all real, and yet he gaslit these kids anyway.
You motherfucker!
And so he thought he was ringing the alarm, and the psychoanalytic community was going to thank him. And it turns out they rose to fight him, and he dedicated his whole life to this book. That 10-year lawsuit with New York Magazine, which he won and then lost and then won and then lost. I mean, and he ended up publishing the letters that were never supposed to be seen, and that will allow you to understand that he was a Satanist. He was a Sabbatian, Frankist, and that brought me to understanding the theology that is guiding what we're seeing. If you don't look into the theology of what happened and look deeper into history, which again is never intended for America. We're a young country, and they wanted us to be a young country and not to look into European history, Russian history, so significant because they fought these battles first with these Satanists. You then become rather obsessed and you think, what was I even doing in public school? And then you really learn that the public school system was designed by the anti-Catholic and anti-Orthodox and anti-Christian Soviets who wanted to make sure that they could trap us in these little indoctrination camps. And it's worked by and large, but now it seems that everyone all at once is sort of descending out of the haze and realizing that there's something sinister.
You're goddamn right.
In 1756, Jacob Frank and his followers were excommunicated by the rabbis. Antelman says the Sabbateans were behind the reform, liberal, and revolutionary movements of the 19th century.
Note the lack of surprise.
They were also behind the reform and conservative movements in Judaism, including the Haskalah, i.e. Jewish assimilation.
You don't say.
In other words, Jews have been influenced by the Sabbateans and don't even know it.
Damn!
That is their tactic. They don't advocate a satanic kingdom. They gently steer you that way by questioning the existence of God, by demanding sexual liberation, independence for women, inclusiveness, internationalism, diversity, and religious tolerance. These all have a hidden agenda to undermine all collective forces except our own.
Now, when you tell somebody that, they look at you and they say, you are out of your mind. What are you talking about? Did you hear this? And and sometimes you think, no. I hate to quote all these people, but Marshall McLuhan said one time that little lies are really hard to keep secret, but big lies are easy because of our incredulity. The worse the facts are, the worse. And also do it in front of people. When they murdered Epstein and broke his hyoid bone and his thyroid cartilage, which cannot be done by suspension ligature, which is absolutely, Michael Bond said, it is axiomatic. They said, no, that's crazy. There you go again. And I'm thinking, I run for the information. What am I missing? Why are we the nation of ignorance? Why do we wallow in this? Help me.
Because we were young. I mean, one of the things I recently went to Russia, and one of the things that was...
I heard about that.
I was speaking to someone, and I asked him a question about something that was in his office. I was like, how old is this? And he sort of laughed, and he said, older than America, right? Just an artifact, older than America, which is so... And to realize how long that history has been there, we've just been in our infancy, right? 250 years. Right. We're in our infancy. But right now, I think what's happening is we're moving into our adolescence. And this is what is scaring people, right? We're starting to test and realize something's not right here. We're missing something. You haven't actually been telling us what's going on. You've been sort of treating us like we're toddlers, giving us no information, actually getting us to read books that don't even actually unpack history or what's happened. People that you're telling us that we should idolize, like Sigmund Freud, are actually perverts who harm children. You're protecting Jeffrey Epstein. Like, now I need to know what is happening. And inevitably it does bring you to theology. It is all of it is being guided by a very sinister theology, Satanism, the occult, and it is driving people, and I will say that as well, as something good that came out of something so evil of Charlie's assassination, is it really brought people to church because they realized I can't contend with this evil.
Let me ask you something.
I can't. There has to be something. This is obviously spiritual. And even though I don't know where I need to be, I do know that I need help. I need help spiritually. And that was their response to it.
Correct. Thank you.
Absolutely correct, Candice. We do need help spiritually because this is a spiritual war for the soul of humanity. It's a war between the forces of darkness and evil, represented by the Satanists, the cult of the all-seeing eye, the Zionists, the Rothschilds, that crew, the usual suspects, you know who I mean, and the forces of light and love. But only a fool would seek spiritual help in the Christian church, because not only has the cult of the all-seeing eye infiltrated the Catholic Church, it's also corrupted the Protestant church, as is plain to see if anyone looks at the state of the modern church that has been feminized, is anti-men, anti-tradition, pro-LGBTQ, pro-progressive liberal establishment.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
So if you can't seek spiritual help from the Christian church, where can you seek it from? Well, the answer is to go direct to the source of the Christian church. In other words, go direct to Christ.
Huh? What are you talking about, Willis?
Now, Christ is within you, as is the kingdom of heaven, because they're one and the same thing. But most people's mental chatter, the monkey mind, is far too loud for you to hear the still small voice of your soul, the still small voice of the Holy Spirit, which is the still small voice of Christ and the still small voice of God.
Oh my God. I get it.
So in order to bridge between the voice in your head, the voice of ego, the voice of fear, the voice of your cult of the all-seeing eye programming.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
And your ability to hear the still small voice of love in the silence of your heart, what you need is the original teachings of Christ, those that he gave before they were translated and ultimately co-opted by the Roman Empire. We need to talk about Jeshua. Who is he and what did he really teach? Jeshua, or Yeshua ben Joseph, is the being most of us recognize as Jesus. He is the most influential person in history.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
Even though he lived on the planet over 2,000 years ago and never had a mobile phone, Twitter account, or access to the internet.
That's a good point. You've got a good point.
One of the world's most powerful religions claims his name. Yet, do we know what he actually taught?
Absolutely fucking not.
Jeshua's original language, and thus the language of all his teachings, was Aramaic.
I'm sorry, what?
A reality few of us were even aware of until the release of Mel Gibson's 2004 film, The Passion of the Christ. Aramaic is a language of tone and vibration. It is very different than the either-or linear language structure of Western civilizations.
Really?
One word spoken with a subtle change of inflection may speak to 7 levels of consciousness. That is, 7 different levels of meaning, all at once.
Your thoughts?
What? As we read the few fragments of Jeshua's teachings that actually made it into the Bible, it's imperative to remember that they've been translated and interpreted by beings from cultures and thus language structures vastly different from his original Aramaic.
Oh, I see.
These translations, first into Greek, then Latin, and then the Germanic languages that eventually morphed into what is today known as English, also occurred centuries after Jesus first taught them. And what was translated were merely fragments of all he originally gave.
Oh dear, we are in trouble.
Considering all of this, is it any surprise that his teachings were lost in translation?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
No.
No. No, 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 no.
No.
Hell no!
With the Way of Mastery pathway, we're invited to return to Jeshua's extraordinary original teachings.
That's what I'm talking about!
They reveal vast and timeless wisdom grounded in alchemical living practices that fulfill the criteria of any genuine spirituality.
This pleases me.
These teachings correct the mind, heal the heart, and awaken the soul.
Yes! Yes!
Make it so.
Here are some truths Jeshua actually taught.
One more listening.
1. All beings are a spark of light or soul at one with God, and we remain eternally as we are created to be. 2. Sin is not a moral failing, but rather a resistance to knowing and living this light. 3. We are each fully responsible for how we use our light to choose and thus attract precisely what we experience.
Can you say that again? Just the way you said it.
We are each fully responsible for how we use our light to choose and thus attract precisely what we experience.
No way!
Yup.
Yup.
Yep.
This power of choice is the most fundamental aspect of the radiant and sovereign soul. 4. While our union and reality is unchanged, unchanging, and unchangeable, we have used our power of choice to imagine and create experiences that flow from the belief that we have achieved primal separation. That is, separation from God. 5. This belief in separation is the true meaning of hell. Though often hidden, this belief engenders a primal guilt, a sense of our inner being as fundamentally flawed, which gives birth to myriad forms of psychological and behavioral suffering in humanity.
Fuck.
6. God is love, and love does not condemn. There is no judgment. 7. All beings are to be forgiven and supported if they are willing to transform their orientation from fear to love. 8. Forgiveness is not an intellectual concept, but rather a radical transformation of one's being, best encapsulated in the Aramaic term washwaklan, meaning to return to original wholeness or atonement.
Oh my God. I get it.
9. Only when we genuinely forgive and then find ways to serve this atonement may we truly awaken to a full enlightenment.
Okay, I'm recusing myself from this situation. Thank you very much.
10. Heaven, like hell, is a potentiality available to all beings willing to enter and go through the purification, healing, and awakening process of enlightenment.
That is not going to happen.
Heaven is here now.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say that.
Jeshua's true teachings contain all that is required for complete, radical transformation into fully Christed consciousness. It's time to let go of the childish idea that believing in Jesus will save you from yourself.
Grow the fuck up.
So if you're ready to answer Jesus' call to awaken into Christed consciousness, click the link in the description to visit The Only Way Out is in Self-Mastery Training Dojo.
That's what I'm talking about!